the first thing I noticed when you walked in is your shoes. But I feel like every time I see you, I'm like, I'm a slob. I'm such a slob because you're put together. You're like dressed up without being dressed up. It's it's casual, but it's
jeans,
dapper. Yeah. It's like
like
it wouldn't surprise me if you had a butterfly knife or a pair of brass knuckles in your back
Well, you got to
pocket.
protect yourself. You never know what's going to happen out there. But there's a store in Trolley Square called Spark. Have you ever been there before?
Trolley Square? No.
Yeah. So it's primarily a men's clothing store, but they have the best shoes, hands down, that you can find in Salt Lake.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it like...
Let's go.
Those almost feel like they're Taft, but not.
No. There's a pretty good selection, though. They've got boots. They've got winter gear, the whole 9 yards. But, yeah, just check it out.
So you're a shoe guy, not necessarily a sneaker guy, but a shoe guy.
More shoe. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Have you always been into that?
Since I was young, probably, yeah. I was, like, looking nice.
Yeah. So would you tour and would you perform with shoes like that?
I would. In fact, I would fall off stages occasionally because of that. Because if you look on the bottom,
there's no.
Slick.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude.
But yeah, touring is kind of funny. I wouldn't really dress up per se. I'd wear like a tank top and dress shoes, which would kind of look funny, but that was my style.
It was your thing, dude.
Yeah.
And when were you touring? It was.
So I joined the band Victim Effect in 2004. So this was like the height of the emo movement. We all had like jet black hair and swooped to the side.
Oh yeah.
In fact, if I were to show you guys the pictures from that time, you'd laugh. It was pretty funny. But the Used was really big.
I'm looking at Victim Effects right now.
Yeah, type in Victim Effect band and you'll find some interesting stuff. But the Used was huge back then.
Oh
we
yeah.
got to open up for them a few times.
The Used is Utah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're from Utah County.
Good dudes.
Springville.
Oh, awesome guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to them?
They're still going.
Are they really?
They still make music.
Huh.
So the drummer, Brandon Steinecker, is now the drummer of Rancid, if you're familiar with Rancid.
Dude, I mean, so I'm not huge into the emo thing, but Rancid, Lars Fredriksson and the Bastards, I dig all of that.
Yeah,
for sure.
I used to work at Sam Goody, and I'd have people come in and they'd be like, "Hey, I'm looking for this song," and it was like the late '90s.
Yeah.
So they'd just start singing it to you, and it was when Out Come the Wolves, I think, was not all that old. It was kind of a newer album.
So Out Came the Wolves. That's like '96, I want to say.
That's
so
about
like
when I was
90s.
at Sam Goody.
Okay.
And so people would always come in and sing those songs, and I was like, Rancid, and you can stop singing, dude. Like, you're not good. There's no Shazam back then.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
No. So you'd literally have them come in, they'd sing a song, and you'd be like, "Oh, this band, that's the CD you would buy."
Oh, dude, it was every day. You'd just joke around, like people are coming in singing. It was like 96, 90 through 99. I think I was there, and they'd come in and sing Britney Spears and Rancid, and like I don't know what it was, but it's this kind of tune, and they'd hum it, and you're like, please save us all. Shut up. I have no idea what you're talking about. Let me just get you now 6, and you're probably in good shape. That's when those albums like started popping. Dude.
I know.
Okay, so I derailed you. The drummer, he's now with Rancid.
So he's now with Rancid. Quinn, who's the old guitar player, is in a band with his wife called Veda Wave, I believe. But the original 2 guys, I think, are still in the band, but they're still touring and doing amazing stuff. So
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Right on.
But you play with Earl, right?
I do. So the band Victim Effect broke up in like 2009.
That's a good run.
Yeah, it was
a lot of those bands, I think, were hit for a year and then out.
Well, it was kind of a weird time. Bands were getting signed to what they call 360 deals. So essentially, you're signing over your merchandise, your tour revenue, everything is given back to the record label. And they would give you an advance, but it's essentially a loan. Mm-hmm. And unless you're radio friendly, it's nearly impossible to pay that back. So this is when streaming was first getting big.
Lovely.
So getting signed didn't really mean a whole lot. Like we would meet with Capitol Records, we met with Sony BMG, but the offers we were getting just weren't that agreeable. So we did our own thing for a while, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Do you guys? Are you on Spotify?
I found them on Apple.
So
or one of your albums.
We are on Apple. We haven't got on Spotify yet. Again, this is like back even when YouTube was first brand new. So we've got some videos on YouTube which are pretty funny to watch.
Oh, I can't wait, dude.
Dude, let's do it. Yeah.
I googled Victim Effect, and
Pretty
some what?
awesome, dude. It looks dope,
Get
man.
that, Nod.
Wow.
Well,
And on that note, Greg's like, F you, I'm out.
He's like, I'm out. All right.
well, it was
Thanks, bro.
It's kind of funny. So I grew up in a very religious household. My mom was a classical pianist. I grew up playing church hymns, the organ, piano. But I got my first electric guitar when I was 15 years old. So everyone in high school had been playing for years and was way better than me. And so I thought, I'm going to play hours on end and get as good as I can. So I'd listen to old Rage Against the Machine albums. I'd get
Let's
into
go.
Pennywise and Bad Religion
Yeah,
and all
Bad
these.
Religion,
Yeah,
yes.
some of my favorite punk bands. So by the time I was a senior in high school, I was one of the best guitar players in the high school, and that was a lot of fun. So I was late to the game, but I think because I had a background playing piano and playing organ, it really helped me learn guitar and kind of go from there.
So do you still play organ and piano and that stuff?
Not as much as I used to, but I still do.
But you can.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, I am so musically
I want to learn the
backwards.
guitar.
I can't do anything. I tried to play a 6-string bass for a while. I think I just have nubby fingers. I couldn't like wrap my wrist. I couldn't reach it. Everything was just so awkward. I'm obsessed with music. My kids are obsessed with music.
Yeah.
We have no talent. No talent when it comes to playing.
I can see you being more of like a DJ, like Skrillex style. Like,
Oh, sure.
working at
That
the
would be cool
crowd.
too, by the way.
I
That'd be dope.
do love that kind of music. In fact, when we were setting up, I've got this Sound of Copenhagen right here.
Okay.
When I was at Skull Candy, we made a shift to try to do Supreme sound.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to shift away from like being the Rasta skater brand into premium. So we went all around the globe doing events and promoting it with this guy named Tetsuro Oishi.
Okay.
He was the second in command at Bose, under Dr. Bose, who invented noise canceling headphones. Like
Wow.
Tet was the man. I remember he got brought into Skull Candy to lead all of our music upgrades, or the headphone upgrades. And being in product marketing, they're like, you and Tet need to become close. And I sit down with him, and he's like straight from Japan, very traditional Japanese. And then it's me. And we're like, how's this going to... Dude, he's become one of my very best friends. He's a mentor. But we traveled the world, and when we went to Copenhagen, our distributor there, like one of the coolest distributors in the world, they're called Playground, and their side business is they do Red Bull productions
Okay.
as their other thing. But they had put together one-off records from DJs in Copenhagen, and they only made 100 of those boxes.
Oh,
And
wow.
the music it's different. It's kind of weird and quirky, but I freaking love it. I
That's cool.
rep that record constantly in the studio, just jamming. But that's like, if I had any skill set, I would hope it could be something like that.
You're like,
But I just don't understand music theory or the cadence of music enough either. Like I think it's one thing to try to pick a riff on a guitar or something, which I have no ability to do. But then for you to make music and create it from scratch, that's like next level for me. I don't think I could do it.
Well, I think coming from the old school punk scene, most of the guys weren't good musicians. They just loved music. And there's a really cool scene where everyone embraced each other. And so if you go back to even like bands like the Sex Pistols, they weren't the most brilliant musicians, but they made really good music. And that's what I loved about the old punk movement.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you still jam to punk music? Is that your thing? Or are
For
you
sure.
finding that your taste has evolved over the years?
So, I mean, everyone gets into indie rock. Everyone gets into... I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, The Doors was one of my favorite bands. But the band I play in now, it's kind of funny. It's a bunch of tech executives.
Yeah.
So you've got Earl Foote, who's the owner of Nexus IT.
Yeah.
You've got Mark Olson, who's VP of Technology at USANA. Joseph Jamrich, who's CTO at Park City Group. And then my business partner, Chris Smith, also plays guitar.
Wait, I didn't know Chris played too.
Chris plays the keys and he plays guitar. He's a gnarly musician.
I freaking love him.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He's such a good dude.
He's
Yeah.
a humble giant. He's, almost 6'6", got 5 kids, which I don't know how he handles that. I've only got one, and I can barely manage my schedule.
yeah.
You have a daughter that's like teenage years?
She just turned 12, actually.
12.
She's playing competitive soccer, which our life kind of revolves around at this point. So she's
Ain't
doing...
that the truth?
Yeah. That's
They have practice
Yeah.
4 days a week. She has a personal trainer, which is awesome. I mean, when I was growing up, you could play multiple sports, and that was kind of encouraged, whereas now it's you pick one sport. you focus on that, and then you get really good at that, and that's kind of the way you go.
Yeah.
We all wanted to be Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Bo was the
I don't know if you
man.
had that black and blue Bo Jackson poster on your wall.
Yes. Okay, and true story, when I went to GoPro, my boss, Wendy, she was a competitive professional Sea-Doo rider, like the ones where the handles went up and down, you know? And she's a bit older now, right?
Yeah.
But like back in the day, she did that. And she dated both Bo Jackson and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's a claim to fame right there.
Yeah.
That's
And she'd always be like, she's like, look, Arnold's a big man, you know, here, but Bo's big everywhere.
Oh,
I
Jesus.
was like, girl, I don't need to hear that. She's like, I'm just saying, some men can be large men, but they're not very big guys. Bo Jackson was both. Okay,
Literally and
Cool.
figuratively.
That's
good
fun.
for.
Yeah, you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, dude. She was a trip to work with. That was like day one. That was at GoPro.
Okay. I forgot you were with those guys.
Yeah, so did I. That was a whirlwind. It wasn't long. I was only there for like
Yeah.
18 months.
Okay.
But I was hired as I was like employee 106 or some garbage.
Mhm.
And in 18 months when I left, there were over 1,800 employees.
Wow.
It was, I joined right as they launched Hero 3.
Okay.
So it was like, it was just insane.
Mm.
When I left, they were doing $250 million a year with Best Buy alone.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't think that's happening anymore, but
No.
it's just too easy from your phone.
That's Did you grow up here in Utah?
So I grew up, I was born in Provo. My dad was
Okay.
getting his PhD from BYU. And then we moved to Phoenix when I was probably 6 or 7 months old. So lived in Phoenix till I was about 11. And then my parents are from Southern Utah originally.
Okay.
So we moved to St. George, and that's where I did junior high and high school. And then moved up here to go to the U and been here ever since.
Oh, okay.
That's rad, dude.
Yeah, when I'm always curious about how the transition is from like, you know, because you mentioned super religious home to like punk indie or like, you know, emo music. Like, what was that like in your family? Were your parents like, were they wild about it? Were they not wild about it? What was that like?
Well, I think they always pushed me to be creative, which I always loved. And even though it wasn't music that they necessarily loved, they would always come to my concerts, and they were always very supportive, which was awesome.
Oh, okay, cool.
But it was definitely a rough transition coming from a religious household to playing on the Warped Tour and playing the big ass show, and where there's a lot more swearing and things which aren't quite religious. But no, they were very supportive, and I'm very grateful for the support they gave me.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. And religious now, spiritual, like how do you?
I definitely believe in a higher being. I can't quantitate exactly what that means, but I think it's important to believe in something beyond yourself. Is it the white Mormon Jesus that I grew up believing in? Probably not, but that's okay too.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love that all of his friends in the Middle East were named like Mark, Adam, and Paul. It just adds up to me. We have all these white American names.
Yeah, that's very true.
I'm not bashing. But it's just an observation. That's all.
Yeah. That's funny.
What's funny though, going back to the Warped Tour, there were bands like Under Oath, if you're familiar with those guys, or I'm trying to think of even Paramore, for example. They were all born again Christians.
Yeah.
So a lot of the shows that we would play, especially going through like Tennessee and Kentucky, throughout that part of the country, were all at born again churches, and they would have these hardcore punk rock shows, which I thought was awesome.
Well, I know like the Killers aren't a hardcore band, but that's a Christian band. If you listen to their stuff, they're
Brandon
straight
Flowers.
up Christian.
Brandon
I think
Flowers.
Brandon's
Yeah.
very LDS.
He's from
Vegas.
Vegas.
He started Mormon, and then he kind of, well, I don't know his whole story, but I think there was a point there where he wasn't like maybe sure or whatever, and now he's.
I think the Imagine Dragons dude, same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, but he's not
Dan Reynolds.
Yeah, but he's not.
I think he's in it, and he's like, there are things about it, specifically LGBTQ,
Yeah,
that he's like,
Mm.
I want to try to help change from the inside.
Yeah.
I love the work. I'm not a huge fan of the band. I mean, they're talented. It's just not my style, but I like his support and his mission and
I
the
really
things
enjoy
he
it.
stands for, and the way that he's able to say, like, I can be a part of this and still be a part of this other thing and support
And
it.
try
I think
to,
that
like, try to
balance is
find a way-
hard
yeah.
for people.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's so much easier to just be like, I'm one or the other.
I enjoyed a lot of his like interviews, especially like his on Howard Stern. Did you watch
I haven't
him
seen
on?
that.
Okay, he went on Howard Stern and Howard was grilling him, and he was just like, nope. And then he did I thought he handled it pretty well, because Howard Stern's not a very nice dude.
I didn't know Howard Stern was even still doing things.
Fair enough.
Didn't he interview someone who called in and was like a serial killer?
He did.
No
If
way.
you want to
Yeah.
talk about trippy
Whoa.
stuff, that's on YouTube. You can listen to the whole thing. It's really weird.
And he
Whoa.
thinks he's joking at first, right? But then I think he realizes like, yo, wait a second, this is real. And it goes on for a while.
I think he even asked the guy how many people he's killed, and he gives like some random number, and he
Yeah.
says it so deadpan that you're like, oh my gosh.
You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
No one laughed, like he didn't chuckle at the
No.
end.
It's creepy,
Yeah.
dude.
Ooh, all right, let's go check. I'll go listen to it.
You know who I think it is? Bob Ross. We talked about this before. There's a conspiracy
We
out
did
there.
talk-
I know you Googled it and it wasn't there, whatever.
Fact check.
Look on TikTok. TikTok's real news. But people are like,
But it might be,
the
though.
places that he paints, they found dead bodies in.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Multiple unique locations he's painted dead bodies. It kind of adds up, dude, if you
Yeah,
think
you're
about
like,
it.
You're like, that's crazy.
So when did you guys
Okay.
start the podcast, or when did this all get
Well, we
started?
haven't even released one yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we're like, I don't know, you're probably in the 10, 12 episodes we've done
Okay.
now. Yeah, and it's kind of evolved. So Dalton has a podcast called The Thinking Project,
Okay.
which is just
Mhm.
awesome.
Pretty
Which you've
fun.
been on before.
Well, I was
right?
pissed that he had never invited me on it. And so I like made some snark comment and somehow weaseled my way on.
We got
And I think, I don't know if I'm wrong or right here, but I feel like it was a different episode. Like it
Yeah.
was
we
much
laughed
more
for,
just casual and like
laughed for
this.
90 minutes. Yeah.
So we like closed the podcast and Dalton's like, dude, we should do one that's not business. We should do one that's we're just shooting the shit with people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What do you say? And I'd been wanting to do one for a long time. In fact, I did a podcast right at the beginning of the pandemic called Ordinary.
Okay.
And the premise was, let's interview ordinary people with extraordinary stories.
I like that.
And I made it through like 7 or 8 episodes, launched it. I made $6 in ad revenue, but someone from Forbes listened and contacted me and they were like, "Yeah, we really love your podcast. We love
Really?
what you're doing with like that you're talking about mental health. We think that you should start a mental health movement or a company or something and we would support it." And randomly, I had been working with Levi Lindsay at the time and we'd been talking
Yep.
about doing something. And I'm like, I go back to Levi and I'm like, dude, I think if we want to start something, like Forbes would back this. What do you
It's
say?
amazing.
And that's how Mind came out. Like that was the beginning of Mind. And
Mhm.
it was Forbes who, I was on a call with them and we were talking about like, they were asking about logos and what the branding would be. And I'm like, I don't think we should have a brand. I don't think it's about a company. It's about a cause. We need something that's accessible to everyone. And I was like, we need like an emoji, like the rainbow is to
Mhm.
LGBTQ. And they were like, yo, dig in on that. That's what you need. You need an emoji that is something people can put on social that says I'm I'm a mental health advocate.
Mhm.
And so that's how our logo ended up becoming the thought bubble.
Yeah.
And Forbes ended up pushing that out. We had like 50,000 people putting the thought bubble on their social profile within the first like 45 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's still on there.
Yeah.
Well, I think everybody's still on there, but
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
And congrats on what you guys are doing. I think it's pretty amazing. I think mental health is just such a taboo subject for most people that it's not talked about, especially in the business community, which I think is ridiculous.
yeah.
Dude,
Which is where it should be, right? Like in the business community of
I
all
think
places.
so. It's Mind, wildly enough, like Levi and I had that. It was making great momentum. And dude, we launched a little bit like, okay, we've talked about the logo. We've talked about some high level stuff with Forbes. And then it just sat and it sat. And so I was like, I'm just going to post on LinkedIn and try to build in public. Maybe it will force me and Levi to do something,
Yeah.
to step up. And I posted it, and our first post got like 30,000 views on LinkedIn, of all places.
That's amazing.
And we were like, oh, crap, we should do this.
Yeah.
Well, we've never had a plan. And then as time went on and Levi and I both left Vid Army, and we've been pretty open about, Levi and I were like soul bros, and then we weren't real tight, and then we got back together and we're like soul bros
The
again.
band's back together.
Yeah. But when it went when it dipped like that, our relationship, we just kind of stopped everything with Mind. And then as we started building our relationship back together, there was all this guilt and pressure that we were putting on ourselves. Like, we have something here and we're letting it squander, and it negatively impacted our mental health. You just started feeling so like, dude, we squandered this. We were supposed to be helping people and we're not. And just recently, like 2 months ago, we were like, we think it's time that we just fold it. And so we went on LinkedIn, because that's what we do. And we're like, we think we're going to do this. And dude, the number of DMs we got, people were like, please don't do this. Please bring it back, yada, yada, yada. And then we had people come back and be like, yo, we will run it. Like, Levi and I have never taken 1 cent from the business. There's not a lot of money in it. But any money we collected, we were giving to pay for people's free therapy. So I'm like, you can come run it, but there's no money. Like, this is strictly a volunteer thing. So James Clausen, he was like, dude, I believe in this so much. Let me be the GM and I'll push it. And so last month we did like a full 30-day challenge, and he's building
That's amazing.
a long-term plan, and he's like helping us bring it back. And so it feels good to kind of have that come back, and not feel the weight of like, it was so ironic that we were about like,
down,
you know, you don't have to deal with mental health alone. And then me and Levi are like, we're dealing with it alone.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, thanks.
I think everyone should have a therapist at some point in their lives. I just started, not to get too personal, but I started going to see a therapist about 3 years ago, dealing with some stuff from my childhood, which kind of resurfaced during COVID. And it's been an absolute game changer. I mean, the fact that you can get in touch with yourself and confront these demons that you've been holding on to for years and years has been a total game changer for me. So I'm very grateful for that.
Dude, I'm glad to hear it.
Great.
I think even just sharing that, a guy like you, right? Like, successful, owns tech companies, well respected, like one of the nicest people I've ever met. To be able to have someone like you say, yeah, I go to therapy. I've been for 3 years and I love it. I think it makes other people similar to you or earlier on in their journey go, it's okay for me to go, and I probably should. Because no one was talking about it 10 years ago.
No.
Like, you wanted to hide that you were going to see a therapist.
Yeah.
And now it's like in everyone's HR benefit package, and
Yeah.
you're openly talking about, and it's wonderful. I agree. Going to therapy, it's changed my life.
Do you still go?
Yeah, I've been on and off. I'm starting back up again. I took a little break, and then it's like, why did I stop? My therapist shifted companies. This is one thing I think is ridiculous.
Yeah.
If your therapist goes from whatever company they're working for and they change and move to another company, they can't tell you what company they moved to.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they
it's
can't
it's-
take them or whatever. Like,
Yeah. So I'm like, well, my therapist, her name was Kelly. Like, dude, I freaking loved Kelly. We had years of this back and forth. And then she leaves and it all has to be secret. And I can't. So I've been trying to find, like, where the hell did she end up?
Wow.
And she can't say. I mean, I've got her, even when you're texting her, it goes through the other company, the company, right? So it's been hard to try to find her, but I just found her again. I'm like, okay, I'm going back.
Yeah, because that's important. Yeah, it has bugged me because I've done that. I've been on and off therapy for a while too, and like that is annoying because you jive with somebody and then they leave, and I'm like, oh, come on. And I'm like, I even asked him one time, I was like, is this like a non-compete thing? Because those are they don't hold up ever.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense that they're
It
not
doesn't make
putting
any
the patient first. They're putting the and not even the therapist. They're putting the practice first, right?
Exactly.
Right. Which is just weird. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a HIPAA thing. No one will really say when I would try to ask. They're
And
just like,
'cause,
it's policy.
Yeah, because I'm like,
Policy.
it doesn't make any sense. Can't be a non-compete thing. Like, we're literally dealing with mental health here. It's like if my doctor moved practices, I could find my doctor.
Yeah. Why do I have to start over? 3 years of like, okay, let me start again when I was 6.
Yes, that is the hard part.
Well, that's the hardest part is even getting yourself to go to therapy in the first place, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
Humbling yourself and realizing that there's something beyond yourself that you need help with and asking for help. That was my biggest concern was, am I going to jive with this person am I going to get too personal? Are they going to judge me? But I think it's just the exact opposite. The more open you are, the more you get out of it.
Did it take you a while to find someone you jived with, or were you lucky first one?
I got really lucky first time around. My therapist is absolutely amazing. I won't say his name, of course, but he comes from a medical background where he was an actual doctor at Brown University, teaching at a medical school, and then went back to school and got into counseling and psychology. And so he brings both the physical aspect to it as well as the mental aspect, which I think is very important. But yeah, I've learned so much from him, and it's been an amazing experience.
Yeah, very cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
So is it something that like you're open with your daughter about? She's 12. Is it something that?
Yeah. I just learned that I was bipolar a couple years ago, which I had no idea growing up. I mean, I loved my upbringing. My family is amazing, but things like mental health just weren't talked about. And so for years,
it just wasn't in the culture. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wondered why my moods were always up and down and how they were. And so finally, after going to some therapy, I talked with my daughter and I said, this is what I'm dealing with. This is probably why I've acted how I have sometimes, and please forgive me for that. And I think the more open you are with your kids and your family, the better it is.
Yeah, my wife was diagnosed with bipolar as well, and our kids are little, and she goes to therapy every week, and we make that a priority. And it's kind of cool in our house. Like, if you come on Friday between 1 and 3, and you ask my daughter, "Where's Mom?" My daughter, who's 7, will be like, "Mom's in therapy for a little bit."
That's awesome.
Like, she's getting help. You know what I mean? And not help, but you know what I mean? Like, she's
But it is
working on
help.
herself. Yeah, she's working on herself, because even my daughter, who's 7, and my son, who's 5, will like tell them, like, my wife will sit down and I'm like, "Hey, I think I'm going through this. Like, I'm in whatever, an episode or whatever. So you just need to be patient. I'm probably gonna do whatever." Like, but and it just changes the dynamic. Like, when you know what's going on, it doesn't necessarily make it any easier per se, but it does help you understand like what's going on. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's really fun. It's cool to get your kids involved.
Yeah. It's interesting when you start learning about yourself and your spouse or your kids, and because like I have older kids, 19, 16, and then younger ones, it's primarily my 2 olders. But they go to therapy, and we've figured out like when there's confrontation, when there's conflict or whatever, I'm avoidance. I'm like, look, we could be pissed. I just need to go in my room for 2 hours. I need to go for a drive. I need to go golf. I need to go do something. And my wife, she's the opposite. I can't remember what hers is called exactly, but it's like she wants to fix it and talk it out right then and there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you have these 2 personalities. The more she's trying to approach it from her point of view, the more angry it makes me. But the more I do mine, the more like frustrating it is for her. And it's kind of like this. So we'll have to have conversations where it's like, okay, I know that you want to do this, but this time we need to let me deal with it my way. Or this time my wife's like, I cannot. And I have to just suck it up and go through it. But even being aware of that has changed so much for us and the way we interact together with our 2 older kids.
Yeah.
It's cool to see.
Yeah.
And when you see it come into real life, I don't know, it just makes you feel like, why would I not go to therapy?
Yeah.
Why would I not learn this about myself?
Well, it's an ongoing process too. It's not like you reach this pinnacle and then you stop. It's an ongoing thing, and you're consistently growing and learning. And I think that's an important aspect to realize about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did if you want to talk about this, if not, we'll move on. But I just remember when my wife was going through kind of like that diagnosis. How was that for you? Was it like, was there a little bit of, like, no way, or what? I mean, how was it for you?
I felt justified. I felt good. I felt like finally I understand
and see, that's
why
how
I
my
am
wife
the way
felt.
that I am.
Yeah.
It was very liberating is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And allowed me to get the tools that I needed to combat whatever issues I was dealing with.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's empowering.
Yeah, it is cool. When you're like, I got diagnosed with ADHD, and it helps me figure out all the stuff too. Yeah, it's good.
Well, and to anyone listening to this podcast, again, realizing that everyone has problems. There's none of us, regardless of where you come from, what background you have, everyone has something that they can deal with. And if therapy is the answer, then by all means, go for it.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
I like that.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
So it's you, your wife, and your daughter. Your daughter's doing soccer full time.
Yep.
Dude, I grew up playing soccer, and there were like 2 choices of teams. And now I take my kids, I took my 8-year-old son to try out for one club. And just 8-year-olds alone, there were like 400 kids trying out.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Where did all the kids come from? And what were all the kids doing when we were kids? Because they weren't all playing sports like that.
It's insanely expensive, and so my
It is
daughter
a
plays
racket.
on a club team called Avalanche. Little plug for Avalanche there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's competitive, it's expensive, but the important thing for me is that she's having fun and she's actually learning stuff, and as long as she's having fun, then we'll keep pushing her to do it.
Yeah. I like my son is very competitive when he's there, but when it's practice or getting ready for it, he doesn't want to do it. And I think even just teaching your kids, you made a commitment to a team. Yep. You made a commitment to someone else. You might rather go ride your bike or, play basketball in the front yard or whatever, but you made a commitment. You're going. It's not always an easy, fun conversation to have with an 8-year-old.
No.
But I think it helps kids mature. I think it helps them learn a lot about life. I think it's not, to your point, it's not really about the sport itself. It's about having fun, having this like connection with other kids. I love that my kids are involved in stuff like that.
Well, I think in our community, there's this attitude of everyone's a winner, everyone's succeeding, which has value, but there's also value in losing, right? And getting knocked on your ass and realizing that you didn't quite make it, right? And improving yourself and putting in the work to get better and better.
Yeah, my oldest son, he's 13. He just dropped out of soccer, and he's now doing individual sports. Like He's mountain biking, doing track and field.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Wants to play singles tennis, but he doesn't want to play doubles. But I think some of it is when he was out on the soccer field, he was very cerebral. He loves the game. Like we wake up Saturday morning, Sunday morning early to watch European soccer. Like,
oh yeah.
So he's very smart and understands the game, but he was always so afraid of making a mistake that he became a very passive player. And like he'd get the ball and instantly he'd just want to get rid of it and then move into a new space. And he's like, he found joy in being the guy that was in the right place at the right time, but not the guy who would like take a risk. And he was afraid of losing the ball or missing a slide tackle or those things. And so at 13, I'm like, dude, it's not about winning. It's actually about trying. It's about losing. Like, dude, anyone who knows me in my career, I've lost way more than I've won. But it's the resilience to just keep trying that gets you through your career or your marriage or your friendships or life or whatever. I think this everyone deserves a trophy thing, I'm with you. There's some value in it, but there's also some harm that comes with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like my son who's 5, he wrestles, and I do jujitsu, and that's what I like because there's no, I don't know, you lose a lot.
You get your ass handed to you.
You lose a lot. And I coined that phrase. I was like, there's something sacred about getting your ass kicked. Like even now, like I think my favorite part about jiu-jitsu is like, and wrestling, this is when I learned not to judge people by how they look. And I'll never forget the story because I saw it when I was like 17. But we were in Iowa, we were at the the Southern Iowa Classic, which is like you have state tournament and then you have the Southern Iowa Classic and you had your individual meet and then you had your team duels, and we were at the team duels, and this was like, it might as well have been state because we were ranked like number 3. We had other teams. We were the top 5 teams were all there. And we get this guy, and in wrestling, they don't start at the same weight. You flip a coin and you pick which weight you start at. And so we start at like the little weight, and our guy goes out there. He's ranked number 2. And we didn't know who the number 1 ranked person was, but this kid comes out that he's wrestling, and we're like, we got this. Like they must have put somebody in front of this guy because like there's a strategy sometimes, right? Like we're gonna put
like in
guy,
baseball.
We're gonna put like the JV.
Fourth.
Yeah, we're gonna put the JV guy here because we know this. We're gonna lose this one, and we're gonna go pick it up later. And so we're like, dude, we got this. This guy's stringy. He's lanky. Our guy's stocky. He's built, and
he got wrecked.
Dude, in the first 30 seconds, he's on his back, and we're like freaking out. And I'm like, holy crap. And our guy, his name was Chase, he came back and won by like a point in overtime.
Wow.
And our coach goes, you did really good. That was the number 1 guy in the state. And I was like, this kid looked like, I mean, he had glasses that had tape in the middle. You know what I mean? I'm like, this guy is but
He's Urkel.
He freaking dominated. I mean, and then jiu-jitsu is the same way. If we get a real cocky guy, we'll put him up against, like the guy who comes in, we'll put him up against like our brown belt girl trainer. Like she teaches, she's a brown belt. She's like 100 pounds. She'll just kill anybody. And I love that. I love that about like, you never know. That's why people who are like wrestlers in jiu-jitsu, they don't pick fights. Like it prevents bullying because you just know. I'm just like, this guy could mess me up and I don't even know it.
My favorite athlete growing up was Mike Tyson, and he was only 5'10". He looked intimidating, of course. He was probably, 230, 240 in his prime.
Yeah.
But the guys that he was boxing were like 6'5", 6'6",
Yeah.
280,
monsters,
290. And he would just destroy them.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like a spectacle when I was growing up. It's Friday. There's the Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield fight. Everyone gets together at your buddy's house. That was like such a magical time.
Yeah.
I love that.
Dude, I have had so much fun going back and rewatching some of his fights.
Oh, yeah.
He had a motor that I don't know. I mean, and he has a few screws loose, but the guy's just he was the most fun fighter to ever watch.
I agree. Hands
So
down.
confident.
And boxing now has lost a lot of the drama. I think I don't enjoy it like I enjoy watching the old stuff.
Mhm.
You guys like UFC? You like MMA?
Yeah.
Stuff like that? That's cool.
It's fun to watch.
I tried to get into Muay Thai for a minute.
Muay Thai, dude. Yeah.
Dude, I loved training on the bags, work. And then I got in the ring and I clocked a dude a couple of times. I was like, oh, this is cool. I got hit once and I was like, bitch, I'm out.
Dude.
Like, I'm done, dude.
Yeah.
Peace out.
I'm not coming back.
Can I tell you, I had the craziest. I was in therapy for like a week after this, but I did a boxing match, and I remember getting in the ring. It was my first time sparring, and I got bullied in high school. And
I can see that.
Yeah, and
Thanks,
I got bullied. And dude, the
checks
first time I got punched in the face, I had to go through a whole mental thing of like, holy crap! I realized why I never wanted to get punched in the face, and I had such a crazy, like. Anyway, but yes, getting punched in the face. Wasn't that Mike Tyson who said that, right? It's like everybody's got a plan.
Everyone's got a plan to get knocked in the face.
Yeah, until you get punched in the face. And you're like, that is the most true statement I've ever heard in my life.
So have you ever like tried to get into it? Do you have any interest in it?
I would love to get into boxing. I find it fascinating, the whole training aspect and the fact that you can do it by yourself versus,
Yeah.
team. But I've never tried it. I'd love to get into it though.
I tell you what I liked about Muay Thai. I didn't realize. One, it is, even if you're just sparring against a bag, it is physical, dude.
Exhausting.
It is exhausting. But the thing that made me, because I probably trained before I actually socked somebody and then got my ass handed to me for like 6 months or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's mental, dude. It is such a mental game of like, okay, if this is happening, here's my counter. Here's option one. Here's option two.
Yeah.
Here's a combo. Here, like my feet need to be this way. My head needs to be here.
Yeah.
There's so much more going on upstairs than I think people who don't understand the sport recognize. I think they're like, these two meatheads just get in there and just beat the hell out of each other. It's like, no, it's a chess match.
You know how to fight, dude. Yeah, you have to know how to fight. Go to Legends Boxing if you want to try it. They're a franchise. They're kind of all over the place. They have some in South, but they're like they just show you the mechanic. They're taught by real boxers, but there's no like ego. Like you walk into a boxing, dude. Like,
Sure.
These guys, but Legends Boxing is good. But one thing that always surprised me about fighting, this is the people who don't fight versus the people who do fight, is the people who do fight always want to fight, and the people who don't fight never want to fight.
Huh.
Like I don't. I'll like run away.
Because you get it out in the ring?
No, dude, I just know
training?
like,
or you just know how bad it can.
You mean
end
fighting
up.
in the ring or fighting outside?
or just
the ring?
at any time.
Okay.
Like I don't like to fight.
Just like at about time.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, like if somebody's,
Because I feel like you go to any bout time and you're like, someone's gonna throw.
someone's
a punch.
gonna try to throw a punch.
It's gonna
But
happen.
those are the guys who've never fought. Because here's the thing that I learned is like you never like the one thing that surprises everybody when you like wrestle, when you do Muay Thai, you probably say, is like how violent it gets, how quickly
Yeah.
violent it gets. And like, and so if like you're on the street or like in a bar or something, I'm not fighting you. I'll leave. Like if I have to, like, I think it all changes when like someone grabs you, but
I went to Koa Kingdom,
yeah.
and the guy who owns it, his name's Bobby.
Okay.
He's like
A
he
legitimate
fights.
Muay Thai fighter.
Yeah, like he gets in and he fights.
Yeah.
And I remember it wasn't long in. He was like, punching hard matters, but knowing where to punch matters more.
Absolutely.
Who's willing to have me show you what this is like? And some guy's like, yeah, man, I'm in. And Bobby hit him like under the, I think in the kidney.
No.
This dude crumbled
Yeah.
Wow.
and just couldn't breathe for minutes.
Pissing
Bobby's like,
blood
and
the
Bobby's
next
like,
day.
I didn't even give him 40%. Like I went light on the
Wow.
punch. He's
Yeah.
like, it's just where you punch.
Yeah. Kidney shots. So you learn that in boxing. Headshots is like is like spending money from a checking account. Immediate. Body shots are an investment
Mm.
because you don't feel body shots right away.
But
Like,
then they add up pretty quick.
but 2, 3, 4 body shots, you're on the ground. Like it's bad.
It amazes me watching how, like, do you think if you got in a ring with Tyson, you could stand one punch?
I'd love to say yes, but the answer is probably no.
Dude,
No.
I think I'd be 6 feet under.
They did that.
If it was a clean shot, I mean, there's just no way. You're going down. There's no way.
I'll run from
Would
him.
you do
That's
that for any, like,
no.
if they were like, bro, we'll give you $10 million to take a punch from Tyson?
Well, it was a roast
maybe
of,
$10
I
million.
don't know if it was Charlie Sheen or who it was. It was on Comedy Central, but Steve-O goes running into Mike Tyson's fists. Mike Tyson just holds his fist like this. Steve-O comes running dead sprint, runs into his fist and breaks his nose immediately.
Oh
He doesn't
my
even swing. He
hell,
just puts
dude.
his arm out just like this.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
That's
I'm
like
good,
hitting
dude.
a freight train.
Yeah. No, thank you. Well, and Steve-O, he'd probably do it. He did a lot of
You
crazy
gotta
stuff.
love Steve-O.
Steve-O did the bungee. No. What's the ride where they strap you down, and then they shoot you up
Like
and
a
it's
catapult
this?
thing?
Yeah, he did that in a. Do you remember the slingshot? Remember he did that in a porta potty, a full
Oh yeah, he did.
porta potty.
That is horrific.
Do you remember
Yeah.
Jackass?
Yep.
This was great. Jackass was great.
I
love
worked at
Jackass.
Zoomies when Jackass, when CYK
Oh yeah.
Camp KY
CYK.
CYK, yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
came out, and it was like we had our little video action sports machine, and dude, we could have had 10,000 of those, and they'd have sold out. It didn't matter. Like that's all everyone
That's
wanted
so
to watch.
Awesome.
I think those guys have a band. Aren't they called CYK as well?
I think maybe, yeah.
Wow.
Not a.
Bam Margera's brother plays guitar in it or something like
He's had a rough go.
Bam
Yeah,
Margera.
yes.
Well, is he?
that, which is unfortunate.
It
Is
is.
Bam Margera still?
Raging drug addict and
Oh, I was
alcoholic.
going
I
to say
think so.
alive. I
Yeah,
thought
he's
I
still
He is.
alive.
He is alive,
Okay, I
but I
thought-
think he's.
I thought there was
I think
a
he's
couple close
hanging
calls.
on.
Yeah, I
He's
thought there was
hanging
a
on.
couple close calls where
I
I,
think
saw.
it was when his buddy Ryan Dunn died in that car accident.
That's
that he
right.
really
Ryan
went
Dunn
down.
died. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ryan Dunn died. Yeah, that's crazy.
it couldn't
What-
have been easy.
What company do you own?
So I have a software development company called Superfuzz. We build
Oh, okay.
apps, websites, custom CRMs, pretty much everything. And
Hot plug. I work with Greg and his team. Greg, Chris, and Kardik and team. They're the best.
That's crazy.
yeah, I had my first chance.
Absolutely love working with you guys.
Dude,
Yeah,
how
thank
do you make custom CRMs?
We had before, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I might talk to you because I might.
Should.
We were like internal. We're trying to figure out our internal CRM right now.
Oh yeah.
you go.
That doesn't bog down. So like if I build a list of 1,500 for Nick's company, I don't want to put 1,500 in his and just weigh down his whole CRM with nothing.
Sure.
I only want to put the stuff in that books, but I need to keep track of the 1,500 on my end, right? So like we're trying
And if
to
you're doing that with 20 companies,
yeah, I'm trying to figure out an internal thing. Yeah,
I'm sure
But anyway.
Greg, Chris, and team could figure it out.
Oh, for sure. We have amazing people. I had the chance to go to India to visit the team last summer. And you've been to Mumbai before, haven't
Yeah.
you?
You took your daughter, right?
We did, yeah.
Okay, I don't want to interrupt the story, but I want to come back to you taking your daughter there because I want to take my kids. But
yeah.
So the two places that we've been to where Isabel was an absolute rock star. One was Beijing. Everyone's wanted to take a picture, bright blonde hair. Then in India, everyone is just so nice, but they would stop, they'd take selfies with her. Like she was just an absolute rock star over there.
Oh,
It was a lot
cool.
of fun.
she's a cute girl. I follow you
Cool.
guys on social, and I watched your India trip, and yeah, that looked awesome.
When were you there? You were there not too long ago.
No, it was a while ago. It was with GoPro, and I was at GoPro late 2012 to like 2014.
Okay.
So it was. I did get Delhi belly there. We talked about that. Like I got so sick.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, but otherwise, love the country.
The people are so humble and nice. The food's amazing.
Yeah.
Our team's in Pune, India, which is about 90 miles outside of Mumbai. It's
Okay.
not too far away.
Inland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how was that the first time you'd been and spent time with your team there?
Yeah, I mean, like, so I've worked with these guys now. Chris started the company back in 2010, if you can believe that. He was working at Adobe and had a side gig building websites. And like many people, was using overseas teams, which you get mixed results, right? Sometimes the communication's good, sometimes it's bad. The code can be good, it can be bad. You just never really know what you're getting. But he met Kartik, who was working at essentially this dev sweatshop there in India. And they weren't paying their employees. They were treating them terribly. And Chris said, hey, why don't we start our own company? So he went to Kartik and Amit. They got a small apartment there in Pune, India, and they filled it with about 3 or 4 developers. That team is now over 85 developers. So it's grown substantially.
Cool. That's crazy.
They're doing a lot of work with shared clients, Raps Direct, Naboso, DazPack. The DazPack one's, I think, going to be real fun.
Oh, I agree. You guys did a great job on the design.
Well, thanks. You guys always make it, you bring it to life in a nice way. So we're excited about that. I met with those guys yesterday, and they're just geeked out of their mind. They were like, hey, we know the deadline or the due date technically is like the 28th, but you think Superhouse could have it by the 14th? Because we have a board meeting. I'm like, dude, I'm not even going to ask them. There's no, like, you don't understand 2 weeks, how much work you get done in those 2 weeks. And they're like, that's totally cool, man. We're stoked on it anyways. Like, we'll just show the wireframes.
Well, I think it's important when you hire a company. I mean, design and development are completely 2 different professions, and people don't realize that.
They don't.
Very much with marketing. Oh, I'm a marketing company. Well, do you do PPC? Do you do SEO? Like, those are completely different proficiencies.
Yeah.
And we don't focus on design. That's why we partner with awesome companies like yours that are really good at what you do. We take that design and put it into motion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, man.
So Chris started in 2010, but you joined afterwards,
I
right?
joined in 2018 as a co-owner. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
very
rad.
cool.
And then
Very cool.
what's your relationship? What's going on with Ziglio?
Ziglio, it's still growing. We're still developing that. My partners are from Jamaica. You've met Leighton.
Yeah,
before.
Leighton's a stud too.
Yeah, Leighton just had a baby about 1.5 years ago, so he's enjoying being a father, and he's doing good.
Yeah.
That's
Nice.
cool.
How did you get connected to Leighton?
So once upon a time, I worked for a company called Disruptive Advertising, which you guys may have heard of.
Yeah.
Down in Lehigh. And during the early days, we did our own advertising, Google ads, and a little bit of social media. But I got a call from this Jamaican gentleman who was representing a company called GoodAccountants.com, and that was Leighton back then. And we started working on a client basis, and we developed a friendship. And for years, he's like, Greg, we're going to start a company. And then at the beginning of 2018, I got a call from the Facebook campus, and he's like, remember that company that we're going to start? He's like, we just won the Facebook Accelerator.
Oh, dang.
And so
Wow.
they started the company back then, and we've been just growing ever since.
Wow.
That's great. And so we use Ziglio with a client plugged into their cart abandonment, and it sends postcards instead of emails.
Well, that's
Such
cool.
a cool way to interact with
Just
a
different.
customer or a potential customer, right?
Yeah.
Like another killer touch point. And I know you guys have plans for many other things, but
For sure.
I
Yeah.
thought Ziglio, I think it's such a cool.
Yeah.
It's a great channel that is ignored most of the time.
Like, are
But I
you
think
talking
if
about
people
direct
add
mail?
it. Yeah, it's direct
Yeah.
mail to their house.
Yeah. Well,
You know that they're high intent, but it's not just an email campaign being blasted their way. It's
Exactly.
right.
in
Everybody's
their
expecting.
hand.
Well, it's the pattern interrupt. Like that's what we do in sales, right? Is like a good salesperson knows when to just like totally, you just interrupt everything. It's totally foreign. Like my favorite thing to do when someone says like if you have a objection, is like I don't have the time for this right now, and you're like, oh, thank God, me either. They're just not ready for it, and they respond easier. Right. So if you get something in the mail, I'd be like, oh, this is crazy. What the? And then I'd probably go buy it
You
again.
must love the movie Wolf of Wall Street. That must be like your sales.
I do.
market.
I've actually been on sales floor. I've actually been on sales floors like the Wolf of Wall Street. Those just dime bags.
Yeah, you
and
told me
spit.
they were
Yeah.
incentivizing you with Coke.
They were I'm not joking, bro. They were giving out dime bags, man. Like eight balls for spiffs, dude.
Dude, when I was at GoPro, we had. I need to be careful. We had some people who
Questionable.
were in some leadership roles
That you were like,
who were like,
Yeah.
"Yo, we're traveling," and it's
Like to go skiing.
they like to go skiing, and it was hard, dude. I remember he broke a glass countertop bar in Thailand or something, and it was it was like a $30,000 build, and they're like, "We gotta charge you," and he's like, "Yeah, okay." Like,
okay.
Dude,
Dude,
we got the cash for it, no big deal.
Here's
The guy
thing.
was a maniac,
I think
maniac, dude.
I think good salespeople start out in environments like traditional sales, like just Wolf of Wall, like just grinds like that, and then you graduate to like where I'm at, where you're like, I think it's good to start at something like that personally.
Really, that
I
sort
think
of
so. Like a traditional, just hardcore, like door-to-door sale, where you just like you and me, we're knocking 1,000 doors in an hour, and we've got to get it done, and then we're gonna make because you got to see the vision of sales a little bit.
Sure.
Well, and no matter what
Just a
you're
little,
doing,
I mean, just a little bit.
I think as an entrepreneur, you have to be a salesperson.
Absolutely.
If you're
Yeah.
going to start your own business and you can't sell, I want nothing to do with
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
or that company. And
Well,
so
you
you got to
just-
learn
yeah,
it
yeah.
somewhere.
Yep.
And I feel like
I like the
you are such a good salesman, in that I don't feel like you ever are selling.
Oh,
But I know that you are. But you have a vibe about you that I think sometimes I can come across, and
To
my
some.
old school Zoomies days come out, and I'm like, "How much money do you have in your wallet? I'm going to take all of it, and you're going to love me for
At
it."
Zoomies?
Yeah,
Huh?
Zoomies.
You're on commission at Zoomies?
It was, you had a base, and then if you got someone to buy more than $100 in a transaction, you made 2%, and every added $100 you got an extra percent.
Okay.
Dude, you could clean up if you knew how to sell. And then if you sold $100,000 in a year, they would send you to an all expense paid trip to like Vail or Copper. We went to Keystone, Colorado a bunch.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm telling you, one time, and they would spend millions of dollars on a party. Literally,
Yeah.
you'd be there
I've been
with
at those.
another 1,000 people. And one year they had elephants on the mountain. They flew elephants in.
No way.
Dude, it's worse than that. The whole theme was Willy Wonka. So they hired little people,
With chocolate bars?
dressed them up as Oompa Loompas,
You're kidding me.
put them on the elephants, riding around the mountain,
Listen.
and like snowboarding with you. And then they had like a whole thing the night of
Yeah.
the party. And these little people in Oompa Loompa costumes running up, like giving you candy chocolate bars.
gosh.
and
yeah, dude.
you're just like, what is happening?
Listen.
But it created this vibe where the minute people
man's
were on the
dying
sales
over
floor, yeah, dude. But people would get on the sales floor and they're like, let me show you a picture of 100K last year. You need to get there. And people would be like, why are we talking? I'm going to go sell to this person.
Yeah,
And
that's
they
what
would
I'm saying.
Race to the customer.
That's what
Wow.
I'm saying.
It's why you
get-
walk in that store and you're basically assaulted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you need to teach a salesperson how to be that, and then you need to dial
it
and then you
down.
need to teach them how to dial it back. So like it's that old quote that it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war
I like that.
kind of thing, because
Deep.
you make them just animals and just vicious, and then you teach them how to tame it and dial it back. And those are the guys, because every once in a while you're in a sale and you need to push. Like, I got this guy and he just needs a little bit of love, right? He needs a little bit of TLC, and he needs little, he's going to do it, right? If he's not going to do it with you, he's going to do it with somebody else. So you need to bring out Zoomies days, and you bring out your little Wolf of Wall, and you need to,
So you always hear
Close
about
the
that
deal, right?
philosophy of the silent close, right? Where
Yeah.
the last person who talks loses.
sure.
Is that true?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It depends. Like sometimes I'm in a close and I'm not, and I know that I need to use the silence as power. But then other times I'm like, it's $3,500. Like,
Yeah.
like we don't get into that, right? Like, it just depends.
Yeah.
I do share your approach and belief that you should just be upfront with pricing.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
I just don't. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time.
I was trying to get on I was considering alternatives to Dropbox.
Mhm.
We're managing so many files.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy expensive, and it's also file management as a creative agency. Believe it or not, is one of the biggest challenges and pains in the ass. And I'm talking to all these other companies. No one will give pricing. No one will be upfront about it. And Dropbox, it was like, it's this price for this. And I was like, this is just easy.
Sold.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be a secret? What is the power?
It's just a waste of time. Well, it's
not being upfront about it. A client calls, we get on a call or whatever, and they're like, yeah, I got all these questions. I'm like, answering, we're talking. And then undoubtedly they're like, if at some point you could send me a deck with maybe like some ballpark pricing. I'm like, no need, man. Our minimum is $5,000 a month, period.
Yep.
It is what it is. And you'll instantly get people who are like, oh, cool. Well, that's in my budget. What do you get for that? And then you tell them.
and then you start working on it. Yeah.
Or they're like, oh, $5,000's too much.
Yeah.
And when I started doing that and I'd have people go, $5,000's too much.
Yeah.
That's when it hit me and I'm like, well, I should do a separate company that does really, really cheap creative for people, and I'll outsource it. And that's how the Underground was born. And now it's kind of nice too that I have that, because I can go in hard and be like, it's $5,000 a month, knowing if that price is out of range, then I'm like, cool, they're not qualified for Grounded. I'm not spending any of my time talking about Grounded anymore. It's like, let me show you the Underground because this is perfect for you.
When did you start the Underground?
5 months ago.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you buy a block of credits. Like you can buy 150 credits for $1,200, and then you can redeem those credits whenever you want for the next 6 months. But to shoot a video, it's 30 credits.
Nice.
Yeah. So you get.
So there's no monthly minimum. There's no contract. It's just like, do your thing.
Which is how we met, by the way, at a video shoot for, was it PremierGuitar.com?
Guitar Tricks.
Guitar Tricks, there you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, and we were so early at Grounded. I mean, I'm a huge believer. You want to start a business before you build anything, before you have a process in place, go sell it.
Yeah.
Like just get the money in the door first and then figure out how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And Guitar Tricks was one of our very first customers, and they were like, okay, we want you. And we had worked with them a little bit, and we'd built up our design side, but we hadn't built up video yet.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, well, we want to do video. And we're like, okay, done. It was not the best setup. It was not.
I thought it was
but
great.
It worked.
Yeah.
It worked, and those ads killed it.
Did they?
Yeah. So you were awesome on camera.
Oh, thank you.
And I remember you coming in, and I knew Earl a little bit, and I was like, Earl's a stud. Like,
He's such a good guy.
Yeah.
as stellar as his reputation is, he's better in person.
I agree.
Like, it's a rare thing to say that, but Earl is that kind of guy.
He's got
Yeah.
that deep radio voice, but he's very genuine. There's
Yeah.
there's no
So
front with Earl whatsoever.
Yeah.
And he brought you in, and I didn't know that you were even going to come. And instantly I was like, who's this son of a bitch in the fancy shoes?
It's got to be the shoes.
Holy.
gotta be the
and
shoes.
then Earl's good on the guitar. And we had a lot of people come in who play guitar. Dude, no smoke, you blew us away. I'm not a musician, but I was like, this dude can play.
Thank you.
Shred.
I appreciate that.
You could just see the passion that you have for it too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my guitars are by far my most valuable possessions other than my family, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Would you ever do a solo project, or have you done a solo project?
So I've written about 10 solo songs over the last year or so, and Chris and I are actually recording a few of them right now. So we bought a bunch of recording equipment, and we're doing some demos. So
Do you sing?
I do.
Nice.
I do.
What is it? What kind of music is it?
I would mix it Jimmy Eat World meets the Beatles meets Death Cab for Cutie, kind of like a mixture of indie rock with post-hardcore, I guess you could say.
Okay. That's interesting. I'd love to hear it
Yeah.
when it's in the can.
Yeah,
I'd
for
like
sure.
to hear it.
I'll send you some stuff.
Dude.
I feel
That's
like as
cool.
I'm getting older, my style of music is so changing and shifting. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I don't know if you guys have listened to the new Zach Bryan album.
No.
Oh my holy hell. That dude, his voice is like a mixture of Jesus and Fergie.
Yeah.
That dude can wail.
Yeah.
And
Zach Bryan's good.
because I love the Lumineers,
Yeah.
mostly I listen to hip hop or like Japanese lo-fi, or then things like the Black Pumas,
Mm-hmm.
dude,
Mhm.
and the Budos band.
Legit.
Love the Budos band.
Yep.
So I'm like kind of in that realm, but the Lumineers are just, they're up there for me. And I guess that it was like his favorite band. My wife showed me this thing. He messaged them on Facebook like 10 years before he got popular and was like, you guys are my favorite band. You've changed my life. I love you. I've been recording music. Here's a link. Like, if you would just listen to a song, it would mean the world to me. Never got a reply back. They did a track together on his new album.
Really?
Wow.
And then, like, if you look, he's got 2 million followers on social media, and they've got like 200,000 followers.
That's awesome.
But it's so cool to kind of hear that. And so he is a country guy, but he doesn't feel country. He feels more Lumineers than country.
Like folk.
I don't
Kind
know,
of,
dude.
yeah, like
it's kinda
indie,
like
Americana.
It's like soul. It's
But like,
it's like
yeah, but like
Black Pumas is
Americana.
soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know Black Pumas, yeah.
Yeah.
But Zach Bryan's more like Americana folk.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
But they have a rock element too. My biggest problem with country music, it feels so processed, the majority of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you have guys like that are actually doing their own thing. They
Super
write their own
pared down.
music, and it's a lot more enjoyable for sure.
Yeah. Well, like, who's the new guy that just came out? They said he was country. Oh, I have one of his favorite songs. Like, it's country. His genre on Apple Music is country, but he's not country. Tyler Childs.
Okay.
You've heard him? He's not country. He's more Americana, folk, like West Virginia, kind
You're
of like
seeing all the styles kind of merge,
smoking-
like you said.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You've got Jimmy World meets the Beatles. Like, that's a unique
Yeah.
mix.
But it's
Sure.
I
like
guess I
that.
guess you could say it's country, and I've heard some people say like this is what country's supposed to be. But like if you have that Appalachian kind of Smoky Mountain Americana vibe, like that's not country to me. That's different.
The country
Right.
that I grew up on was Willie Nelson,
Yeah. Okay.
Johnny
that
Cash,
that's-
Waylon
yeah.
Jennings. I mean, the outlaw country was my favorite.
Yeah, that was cool. I like that. But like some of the country today is just like pop music.
Yeah.
With twang or whatever like, you want to
Process.
call it like that. You know what I mean? But I like I like folk music the Lumineers would be like folk for me or and Hoosier.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Hoosier, he's kind of folk.
Is he
like-
still around?
Yeah, he's still making music
Okay.
a little bit.
He's like as tall as Chris. That man's gigantic. He's like
yeah,
6'7".
Hoosier's big. Hoosier's
Yeah,
big.
I saw him do something where he just went down into a New York subway and
Yes,
played,
and he
and no
played-
one knew it. And you're like, this dude's touching the ceiling.
He's got
He's
and he,
massive.
and he had pipes. And he
can sing.
He's got
And
a
he
great
can
voice.
Yeah.
This is something that is always funny that you both of you got to mention, but like seeing people on TV and then seeing them in real life is like just you feel like someone's bigger on screen than they are in person,
And they're tiny. In real
and they're
life.
just small, dude.
Dude, coming out of Caesar's Palace a few years ago, Matthew McConaughey walks up. Dude's like 4'9".
Yeah,
He is
No
so
way.
He's
I mean,
short.
not 4'9", but he's
he's
5'3",
Are you taller than him?
5'4". I towered over him. I'm 5'9", and I was like, hey man, how's it going?
Let's see, dude.
What's up, dude?
Matthew.
It was him and Clint Eastwood together.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
McConaughey.
shocked. Small dude.
That's crazy.
Tom Cruise is small too.
Yeah, Tom Cruise.
He's
is
like,
small.
what, 5'6", 5'7",
I
probably?
think so. He also has the straightest, crookedest teeth you've ever seen in your life. Have you seen a picture of this?
Okay,
Yeah.
no. So, how
Dorian, Google this. Tom Cruise, straight, crooked teeth. Dude, they are perfectly straight. Only, you have your, like, the gap in between your two front teeth lines up with the middle of your head. Nope. The middle of one of his teeth are in the middle of his head. It's like the whole top row just shifted like a
Wow,
quarter of an
dude.
inch over. Perfectly
wait.
straight, but crooked.
How tall are you?
See what I'm saying, Dorian? There's even pictures on Google where there's a line drawn down his face. You're like, it's through the dead center of a tooth. Do you see it? You got to show these guys. They won't believe me. It's wild.
Whoa.
Dude. You'll never unsee it now. I've ruined Tom Cruise for you guys.
Dude. Well, I didn't like Tom Cruise anyway.
He's
That's
good in
funny,
Vanilla
though.
Sky. That's a good movie.
That is a good movie.
It's a great movie.
I liked when he flew off the
right, let's
cliff
see
in the
this.
last Mission Impossible.
Okay. How tall are you?
What?
See, dude?
What?
So it's there. So you see it there, right?
Oh my gosh.
So you see it, and then
You can't
It's
unsee it.
unbelievable.
and then
Wow, dude. What? Oh, wow. That's
Mike is
wild.
officially blown.
Gnarly, dude. It's like he got hit by
Yes.
Mike Tyson.
Dude, but yes, I remember here like seeing some of my big sales guys. So I think the one time I actually don't like this person, and I'll say his name because I don't really care. But
Wow,
have you ever
throwing
heard the
heat.
name? Have you ever heard of but you guys have never heard of him because unless you're in like the sales
Gary
world.
V. Alex Hormozy.
Brad. No, I like Bradley. Andy Elliott. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. This guy he's super old school sales trainer. He actually really pisses me off. I really don't like him. And I met him in real life at SolarCon once, and he's legitimately 5'3". But he wears like super tight clothes and like works out and has like shorter shorts than Scott Paul. and and dude, he's just like so short.
Wow.
And I'm like, why are you talking so much shit on everybody on social media? So every time I see a video of his I don't like on social media, I'll be like, Andy's 4'11", and like
Does he
everybody's
respond
just
ever?
losing. No, he doesn't know me.
Like
he's
he's
one of
5'2".
I'm like, he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm actually taller than that. I'm like, dude. Anyway, it's crazy. What? So when you came out of music,
Yeah.
you got into business. Was that always the plan, or did you stumble upon it, or like?
So it's kind of funny. My plan was to go to law school. I
Oh, cool.
studied political science in school and philosophy, and I have a brother who's an attorney, so I thought that was kind of like my career path.
Mhm.
But it was my senior year of college here at the U that I got the invite from one of my friends to come play guitar in the band, and they're from Northern California, the Sacramento area.
Mhm.
And they ended up moving to Provo during probably like 2005 to 2006.
Mhm.
Our bass player at the time was studying audio engineering at BYU.
Oh, cool.
So we found out that we could get free recording time at the BYU recording studio through him.
Oh,
So we came in with our tattoos and our black hair, walking around BYU campus, and that's where our first demo was recorded. It was at BYU.
oh, heck yeah, heck yeah. And dude, holy cow, that's crazy. So what made you jump? Like, what was the transition from music to business?
So the band broke up. I went back to school, got my degree,
Okay.
and then one of my first jobs out of college was actually working for a Wolf of Wall Street type sales company.
Oh, what company was
They're
it?
well, I'll.
Okay, all right.
They're in Salt Lake. They know who they are, but
Okay.
essentially doing outbound calls, doing equipment leasing. So multi-million-dollar deals. Which
Okay,
is
there's only a
huge-
couple of those.
There's only a couple.
Okay, all right.
And they're still
I hear you.
active. But that was kind of my intro into sales because I'd
Yeah.
never done sales before.
Yeah.
But you learn a lot when you're doing outbound calls to people that you've never talked to before.
Yeah.
And updating your CRM and following up on leads, and it was a wild world for sure.
Right.
Dude, I'm sorry I had to step out. My
good.
mom and 92-year-old grandparents are coming. And I just got
Aw.
like 5 missed phone calls, and now they're not answering. So
Oh, jeez.
that feels good.
You're gonna step out.
But on the sales side, and I may be
you're good.
backpedaling a bit. One thing I think a lot of people outside of sales don't realize is the best salespeople really understand a CRM.
Yep.
And are really organized.
Yeah, you have to
Understand how to follow up. Like there is so much. I feel like I'm not great at that side of it. I'll have a great call. We're doing things. And then I'm like, okay, I got to follow up in 2 days. And I forgot to put notes in HubSpot. And then the next day I'm like, I don't remember what we talked about.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
like, holy shit.
I don't know what I'm supposed to be sending
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Like
yeah.
if you're good at sales, you're
Organized.
able
You
to
have
have
to
that
be.
conversation and take great notes and understand the action items and nurture the leads in your CRM. It's gnarly.
It
It's
is.
a lot more complex than people realize.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty wild. Do you feel like that helped you in your sales career, being on something like that? I know
Oh,
that I had just
absolutely.
talked about it.
Absolutely. Learning to talk to people that you've never met before and know nothing about is a game changer for sure.
Right. And then I just like one of the things I like about being on such a that kind of sales floor where it's just cutthroat and everybody's passive aggressive because we got to play as a team, but I hate you, and if you sell, I don't like you.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just think I don't know. It's just a rite of passage for me.
Yep.
Like it's just one of those things where like if you can make it through that and you're still here, you're all right then. Let's go. Right? I'll do that with you.
Yep.
Like I like that. I like that we've kind of, because in our culture we've kind of lost that rite of passage, like those moments in life where you know, like if you were in any other time. Oh yeah, go ahead, bro. In
Grandma.
in a lot of other cultures, you're you're intentionally put in these situations where like you have to grow and
Yep.
like you leave your mother and your father and you've got to like, do these things and then you come out of that with all of this knowledge that you would have never gotten.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a sales floor like that is one of them. Like, oh, you want to start sales? I tell people, they're like, how do you want to get into sales? I was like, go to any car dealership and go sell.
Yeah.
I think you'd be fine, right? Go join a cold calling team, dude. You want to sell? Go cold call for a year.
It was also very rewarding, though, at the same time, though, when you actually get like your first big sale and you've done it on your own work. Like, that's a very pumped up feeling.
That's adrenaline. You're like, dude, I closed that deal and it was all me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like, no one gave it to me. They weren't an inbound lead. I talked to somebody and convinced them of something. Like, that's the bad definition of sales, right? Yeah. Convincing people to spend money they don't have on something they don't want.
Well, that's
It's the negotiation tactics.
Oh, dude, yes.
So far and
Life, dude.
I think why Nick's so good at sales, he's just so brutally honest on phone calls. Like, he'll tell a client exactly what he thinks, and they love that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not used to that kind of feedback.
Right, which is that pattern in, or like, that's why you just like, you'll get so many more deals. I mean, you'll lose a couple, but no one bats 100, but you'll get so many more deals if you just like, like for example, mine is $3,500. That's where I start. And so whenever somebody tells me, and I do sales training, and when someone tells me like, what should I tell them? Like, how do you overcome? What's the price? I'm like, tell them the price.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how you overcome it. I'm like, if you ever tell me it depends, I know you've never spent a real day in sales.
Yeah.
Because like, it doesn't depend. Because I don't get out of bed for less than X. That's the price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, if you want to negotiate, we can talk. But yeah, it's wild.
So you're doing sales for Grounded right now then?
Yeah, we do outsource for them.
Cool.
Yeah, we have a couple others. It started because I kept dude, sales is wild. You're the first one to go in a company most of the time. They'll let salespeople go before they let HR.
But you think it'd be the opposite because that's what the lifeblood is.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Yeah.
But you look at like these big companies out here. I just saw a bunch of people post on Podium from Weave getting laid off.
Wow.
People just laid off. So I've been laid off twice. And then I was like, screw this, dude. I'm not doing this again. I was like, so we're just going to start our own thing and do our own thing. And it worked. Because if you can sell, like, I don't know. I remember this. I'm really confident in sales. And I remember teaching a sales company one time while I was working for another tech company. I was like, look, man, my boss could come through the door right now and say, you're fired. And I'd have a job before I left the room. And the next day they came in and they fired all of us. I mean, I wasn't the only one. Otherwise, I would have been suspicious. But I was like, all right, time to put your money where your mouth is.
Good for you.
And I was like, all right, let's do it. And it worked out. So it was fun.
Is there a certain industry that you specialize in, or is it pretty agnostic?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly the professional services. So places that paid advertising doesn't really work in,
Okay.
we go in. So like marketing companies are a good example. Like a marketing company can't, like Facebook ads, PPC, that stuff doesn't really work for business to business in a small scale.
Sure.
There's two types of marketing. There's the large company that Apple and their branding, mass marketing, and ego. That's their marketing. It's Nike versus Adidas. If you're a small company, it has to be direct response marketing. So we are the direct response guys. Because it's just tough. Like, because what's the alternative? Hire somebody who is commission only. Yeah. Like, and that's extremely difficult. To find somebody who'll work for commission only.
Kill what you eat.
And then, yeah, eat what you kill. And then, because the rule in business is pay, like comp plans dictate behavior. So if I got a free guy, like he's going to go where the money is. And unless you have, like I consult with companies and I'm like, you can hire a commission only guy, but you better give them a ton of leads. Yeah. Or it better just be a no-brainer sale. I should be able to sell this to anybody in 5 minutes. And then if that's the sale, then commission sales only works.
Hmm.
It doesn't work in a big B2B 2-month sale, right? Like if I'm selling $50,000 websites, which I've done before.
Which is
Yeah.
what we build.
But it's really tough to have your commission only. This is going to take you 2 months, but when
Yep.
you sell it, you're just like, because hopefully you get a guy who can. But in my experience, it's like he's got bills to pay and he
Yeah.
can do it for 2 weeks. But then when rent's due, he's just going to bail.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
So the funny part is the band has provided lots of business opportunities. Well, from a networking standpoint,
Yes.
we play lots of Silicon Slopes type events. We're playing Startfest here on the 26th at Gateway.
Oh, cool.
Dude, sick.
That is
And I think one of the biggest selling points of our company and what we do is that people know us and know our reputation. That way when they talk to us, they've already heard about us from Nick or from somebody else. So by the time we get to the sale, it's not really even a sale. It's just very much relationship based and exchanging of ideas and talking about how you can work together. And so that's kind of how we've built our company.
It's dope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
dope.
Love it.
Yeah, man.
Is your family okay?
Dude, so my 65-year-old mom, 70-year-old aunt, and 92-year-old grandparents are all on speakerphone. Like, we don't know where we are. We're in a parking garage, but I can't even find my way out. And I'm like, wait, did you? I literally drew a map for my mom. Like, this is where you're going to turn. This is where you're going to go. And they're like, we're looking at the map, but I think it's upside down. And they're here now. So I was like, you're in the wrong parking garage. Turn around, come down, do that. Take a right, take a left.
I thought you guys
Come
were in the
up
building
this.
next door where the construction's going on.
Oh,
so I
yeah.
walked up and I was like, oh my gosh, how do I get in here? But
Yeah. The thing is Google will not send people to our office.
Huh.
It's so weird. But next door, Visit Salt Lake just moved in there.
Okay.
And I'm like, look, you guys got to do something to help us. Like, flag on Google Maps where to come, because every single time it's like, you got to come in between the two buildings with the weird statues, and no one can find this place. But they are here now, and I think they're probably just now getting into my office to hang out. So
Nice.
on that note,
Sick.
dude, thanks for coming. I've loved
Thanks
it.
for having me, man. This has been fun.
Yeah, dude. Appreciate
Let's keep doing work together.
Okay.
it.
Super
Rock
fuzz for the
on.
win.
Amen.
Let's go.
Amen.
And you have a concert coming up this September?
We do September
Oh, yeah.
26th at the Gateway.
Dude, let's go.
Yeah.
Is it like a rager? But it's Startfest, so should we start a mosh pit?
Well, because we play lots of tech events. That's the funny part is you have all these guys like slam dancing, messing around, but they're in like business suits and business casual. It's kind of fun.
And then you're just up there in a tank top and dress shoes.
Exactly.
Dude.
It's perfect.
Yes. Let's go.